Maybe don't tell me there's another IRD scam.
There is. IRD have come out and given a bit of a warning that there's a new one on the scenes. We've got some clever people that have gone on the internet, looked up people's names, phone numbers, even their addresses, etc., and are actually making phone calls and saying to the people that answer, look, I'm from IRD, I'm investigating you for historic tax fraud or evasion, and want to sort of scam them out of some money. If they don't get you on the phone straight away, they actually leave a message, if you've got an answering machine, with a number for you to call them back. And,
so don't do it.
No, if they ring you, just take their name and say, oh, I'm too busy, take the number, and then call your accountant and see what they say, or alternatively, jump on the IRD website and call the 0800 number and just talk to them. Because the number they give you is not an IRD one. It's
Well, IRD aren't sort of into ringing up people anyway, I wouldn't have thought.
not for that sort of thing, no. So they might ring you up and just sort of say, look, you've got an outstanding return, or we just want to find out where you are with your debt repayments, something like that. But for tax fraud or evasion, no, there'll be a formal process they've got to follow. So you get a letter in the mail, your accountant would be notified, not just a phone call out of the blue.
Yeah, so move fast, get hold of your accountant, get whatever information you can.
Yeah, and you should let your accountant know, because then we can pass that information on to IRD, and that's a way for them to keep ahead of it. Same if you get emails, you forward that on to your accountant so we can give it to IRD, so they're constantly sort of working away behind the scenes, trying to keep ahead of these people and shutting it down and issuing these warnings as well.
Because they are pretty clever. I mean, they get a copy of the IRD logos and things.
Oh yeah, because it's easy enough to get off their website. But yeah, they do all that sort of thing and make it look really official. Each email address even sometimes looks like an IRD one with a slight number variance in it or something like that. So they're getting more and more clever. But this one's gone back to the very basic phone call. And we know some people have been caught out.
And they're literally paid money.
Yep, they've gone, oh okay, and worked out what they've owed and handed over some cash. So yeah, they've now realised and
they would, I mean, so yeah, it's dead simple, isn't it?
Yep. So if you get a phone call for something like that out of the blue,
or you get an email.
Yeah, just contact your accountant, or even if you don't want to contact them because you don't want to look embarrassed, then give IRD a call. Either or will help us sort you out and tell you whether you're on the right track or not.
Yeah, and IRD would rather hear from you than not.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Speaking of accountants, so when should we pick the phone up and actually talk to them about business?
Well, there's a lot of scenarios. Everyone obviously thinks we're there to do the taxes and that's about it, and we are. If you've got tax things to be done, we're the ones to talk to. We can get you all the maximum deductions and rebates, etc. But there's other times, if you're looking at sort of planning to buy or sell, get us in before you do anything, so we can help you through the contract process. We'll talk to you about what tax consequences are, how you can work it to your advantage, especially when it comes to selling, because that's when most of the time the tax does bite. So we can help plan it out to work better for you.
Yeah, because you've got all sorts of structures, haven't you? You've got trusts, you've got companies, you've got...
Yeah, and when you go to sell a farm, it could be a trust owns part of it, a company might own another part, or a company could own all the assets and the farm is owned by a trust, and if you're trying to sell it as one, then the contract does get quite complicated, so that's where we can help you, guide you through the process.
Yeah, and then I'm sort of thinking things like water rights and goodness knows what else.
Yeah, these are the things that if you've got to make sure it's specified in a contract, so there's that to think about. And we've, all accountants have a checklist that we can work through and just say, look, have you thought of this and that, and just make sure you're on the right track. And
that's really before you get it listed and start looking at...
Yeah, the moment you have a thought that you want to buy or sell, you should be on the phone to an accountant saying, look, this is my plans, what do you think? And we can take you right through from the very basis of whether it's even viable, especially if you're looking to buy. We can take you through whatever figures have been provided and whether they're realistic. And then, your structure and how to do everything from that point on.
And there's GST.
Yep, there's GST to think about. And depending on what you're buying and selling, you may or may not have to pay GST.
Or you may, yeah, exactly. I mean, what happens if I buy a property that was GST-able, but I didn't want to be? Can I do that?
You can buy it, but you're going to get charged the GST by the vendor.
Yeah.
So if you're buying a property of substantial nature, you want to be GST.
So you're just paying 15% more?
Yeah, you are. Yep. And then the vendor just pays it straight on to IRD. So they're not out of pocket, it's just you pay more than what you pay.
But when I come to sell it, having developed it and got twice as much for it, I don't pay.
Yeah. You get a bit of a minefield if you started to go down that track.
Yeah, I think that's the situation where that person in particular goes and talks to an accountant and says, right.
Yeah, especially if you've got any sort of development stuff going on, then you need to be straight on the phone to the accountant before you do anything.
Budgets will be another one?
Yeah, we can help do the budgets, plus also do the monitoring of them. A lot of farmers might have a business partner or family even. So, it could be the father and the son doing the farming, but the daughter wants to know what they're up to. So we can, do budget reports and gives people a bit of a guarantee that the data is right, not just something that the farmers put together basically, because we've got to make sure it's accurate for us to put our name on it. So it gives certainty for people.
And I guess with budgets, I mean, people will sit there and they say, well, I'd really like 215% lambing this year. Because
Yeah.
that's
they try all sorts of tricks. Well, I'm not going to spend this much on my fertilizer, and I'm going to cut down these areas. You look at we look at trends and say, look, you haven't done it in the past. What's going to change now?
so you actually get the feet on the ground.
Yeah, yeah. So we've in our office, we've got statistic stuff that we've run for the last 10 years on a lot of farms. So we know exactly what they're doing and what they're capable of. And if someone comes to us with a budget and it's not even close, then they have to have a very good explanation before we accept their sort of budget. And 9 times out of 10, it's just them trying to be optimistic or look good for the bank.
I mean, the bottom line is that you can't really do an accurate budget because you don't know what the prices are going to do.
No, you can't. But on the expense side, you can certainly get that pretty close. And that's the one that's really the key, because you want to sort of make sure that you're not overspending and overcapitalising on the farm. And you're spending in the right areas, you're not just wasting it. Some people sort of think, oh, I'm just going to spend this much because it's going to save me tax. Well, it will, but are you really getting any value out of it? So that's where the return on investment is also another thing that we've got to look at.
And you would notice if there's a pump, this actually happens to be inside a boat.
Yes, yeah. You can't hide a lot of things for accountants. We know sort of what things are worth because you get to see from other farms, etc. And you know what's coming through from suppliers. We get copies of their sort of updates, price lists and things like that. So it's hard to sneak things through.
Well, the bottom line is, though, that you have to be like that because you're the intermediary between they and IRD.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we're the ones that are answerable to IRD, especially if we put it through and then try and say, well, we didn't know. They're going to say, well, you should have known. And that's where, if you're going to do something, you should be upfront with the accountant. And
I think probably there would be certain people who would fear time with an accountant because of not who they are, but what they are. And they would be going, I really don't want to get the bad news.
Yeah, but it's better to work with your accountant. Sometimes it's not actually bad news. We can help make it even better for you. So I wouldn't be afraid of working with the accountant. You should be working with them more, is the reality.
They should be a mate.
Yeah, they should be involved with even your family life. Get in there and tell them what your goals are for the family, because we can help you get to that point for them. So if you want to say you've got a child you want to send to university, you're not sure where you're going to have the cash to get them to that point, we can start putting things in place to get them there, and sort of help you get set that goal, put funds aside, or even just put it into the budget, for example.
Brilliant. Thank you very much indeed.